Hi guys, this is Mike out from the Comic Book Syndicate. We are at the very first Michigan Comic-Con at Cobo Hall, and we're here with artist Bob Hall. How are you doing, Bob?
I'm doing good.
Great. So I actually have a question. First, going back, who were your influences when you were growing up reading comics?
When I was growing up, my big influence was Carl Barks,
Okay.
who did Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge. And while that doesn't sound like superhero stuff, he was one of the best storytellers ever in comics. And aside from that, even back then, Jack Kirby was going strong. And I still remember him. My era was something like Boys Ranch that he did, and The Fighting American, which was his satirical version of Captain America.
Excellent. Yep. Good stuff. I've read that. I haven't read Boys Ranch, but I've read Fighting American. It's great. Yeah.
It is.
Now, one of my favorite projects of yours is Squadron Supreme that you did with Mark Gruenwald.
Yeah.
I know you didn't do the whole series, but you started on it, right?
I started on it. I have never been the fastest comic artist in the world. And at the point where Mark added the whole group of villains to it, I realized I could no longer make a monthly book. And I went to Mark and said, I'm sorry, but you got to get somebody who's faster to do this. Because I did one issue with them all in it, and I damn near killed myself. I think I was up till 3 o'clock every morning. So that's the story with her. But it was one of my favorite projects. I loved doing it.
And it came out in 1986, I believe, right? Which is...
I don't know. That's a long time ago.
It was about 1986.
I don't remember 1986 exactly, but...
Well, it was around the same time.
I was up till 3 in the morning every night, and I don't remember what year it was.
It was similar to some of the things going on in Watchmen.
Yeah.
Have you ever read Watchmen?
Yes, and I think Squadron came out before Watchmen.
I believe so, yeah.
And it was the same idea, but not quite as dark.
Right. So was this a conscious thing where you were like, were you part of the creative process of creating the story as well?
No.
Okay.
Marvel artists were part of the storytelling process depending on who you worked with. And I know there were people who, like I think John Byrne, Ditko, Kirby, who worked with writers and were part of the process. But we were using the Marvel method, where you got a scenario from the writer and then you broke it down into pictures. So you were part of the creative process in that sense. But I was not part of really developing the concept of Squadron Supreme. I can be listed as a co-creator on things, but in those days, pretty much a writer would go to an editor with an idea, and you would be, unless you were part of a team that was figuring that out, somebody like Mark would say, hey, you want to draw Squadron Supreme? And you'd say, sure or no.
So when you did it, did you feel that it was something a little bit different, something special?
Oh, yeah. I think Mark was ahead of the game as to where comics were going.
Sure.
The only thing I thought about it was that in the long run, he became so fond of the characters that they didn't end up turning quite as dark as I had expected them to, because part of where I thought he was going was this idea that if a group of super people existed, why would there not be a fascist turn to an authoritarian turn to what they were doing? And later, I think Watchmen explored that more, as did a lot of Frank Miller's work.
Right. Good point. Now, what of your work would you say you're the most proud of over the years?
Probably Shadow Man, just because I thought it was strange and eccentric. I love doing Squadron. I did Emperor Doom with David Michelinie at Marvel. I liked that. And then I did some really eccentric Batman novelettes for DC after Valiant folded, and I liked those a lot, especially when it was an Elseworlds called I, Joker.
Okay.
That anticipated the Hunger Games. It was quite a few years before the Hunger Games, but there was a game issued every year where they recreated the Legend of Batman had become the state religion of Gotham, and it was a theocracy, and they had games every year where the enemies of the state were converted surgically into the great Batman villains, and there was a chase, and the Batman of the time would kill them all, when theoretically if they won they could go free. At the end of it, the Joker, who is the hero of the story, does win and becomes the Batman of the future. So the Joker, you've got a Joker wearing a Batman mask, and I thought it was a good story.
Sure. Now we know where Hunger Games got all its ideas
That's right.
from, right?
That's right.
So what projects are you working on now? Is there anything we can look forward to coming up?
Not in the near future. I'm hoping to work on a graphic novel, but in the meantime, I've been having a series of educational comics.
Okay.
They've been paying the bills, and I did one last year called Carnival of Contagion that was about the measles virus. I'm now doing a storybook to the adventures of a mascot for the medical school of this big hospital in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay.
And I just got contacted to do an educational comic on the measles. I'm sorry, on mosquitoes.
On mosquitoes, and say measles.
Well, the measles, the Carnival of Contagion was on the measles. It was
Okay.
all about the measles. And I did a Freddy Krueger type carnival barker who entered into the dream of susceptible kids and took them to the Carnival of Contagion, where they learned all about the measles and got them as well.
Fascinating. Okay, good stuff. Well, thanks a lot. It was great
Sure.
meeting you. It was an
Nice to
honor.
meet you.
All right, thank you very much.